A ceremony and a press conference highlighted the semi-triumphant moment Wednesday in New York as 7 drawings by the famed Austrian expressionist Egon Schiele as the valuable works of art returned, that is, to the heirs of their former owner. That's Fritz Grunbaum. He was an art collection that was looted and stolen by the Nazis during World War II. And importantly, the early 20th century works were described as voluntarily surrendered by the institutions and collectors that had held them after the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the Trafficking Antiquities Unit, presented evidence that they had in fact been stolen. A lot to discuss around that. We're joined in the studio by Mary Krimilovsky, an art critic and foreign correspondent. So good to have you with us. I wanted to shed a little more light on this Fritz Grunbaum. I was just reading about him. He was a Jewish Austrian cabaret performer that I read, whose work, as they said, defined cultural life in the 30s in Vienna. So he was, an influential figure, and apparently he was often, portraying negative things about the Nazis. He was coming after them in his public displays. So he drew their attention, and they took apparently hundreds of pieces of art from him. What do you say about seeing this happen in 2023? Obviously, this is just one of so many heartbreaking incidents from the time, but what do you say about the importance of these efforts taking place to make things right in this realm?
Well, unfortunately, the world is not a good and happy world yet, and these things are sometimes happening in zones of war now.
Right.
So we do think that it's important to show that even though there's so many years has passed, we're still doing the justice with these people.
You don't get away with it even 2-3 generations later.
Exactly. By the way, a lot of people are asking how come he had so many Schiele.
Yes.
Well, he must have been a very good friend of him. And the Jews were the best friend of Gustav Klimt, and he mostly drew Jewish women. So, but the thing is that in these cases, many times the Nazis afterwards were saying in court, because we're talking about trials that began years ago, that it was actually bought in certain prices, even if it was never done in a proper way. And we know a case of Gorlit, who was a very important art dealer in Germany, that even with his best friend, who was a Jewish doctor, when the doctor had to flee and needed money, he gave him coins for his art pieces.
There are a lot of stories like that. People so desperate, either having it stolen or essentially coerced to give up so many valuables. Look, what do we know essentially about how just meticulous and organized the Nazis were in these looting efforts? I mean, it seems that they really zeroed in on the valuable collections, on whether it be gold or art. Was this done in the way that we've come to know the Nazi efforts here? That they document a lot of this?
The interesting thing is, why was it so important? And it wasn't only money. That's the interesting
thing. So it's
thing.
not just about the value. Okay.
We have to remember that Adolf Hitler, when he was 33, when he was becoming the leader, the most important thing was him not to deal with the economy that had so many problems, was to deal with art, because he considered himself an artist. By the way, it wasn't that the Jews didn't let him to be an artist. He was a bad artist. He wasn't talented at all. So for him, it was important from the beginning. So actually it was a machine working very, very accurately, doing this. Wow. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the very important Nazis were collectors themselves. And if we're talking about degenerated art, yes, this is one if it's a Jewish painter. The other one, if it's too modern, it's also degenerated, like our Egon Schiele that was so expressive, Hitler hated it. And the third one was a communist. By the way, we have a lot of artists that were communist, Jewish, and modern.
The trifecta.
Yes.
To the disdain of the Nazis.
But you know that these collectors, Goering and others, they collected these things that they knew that they are good things, although that Hitler said that they are degenerated.
Well, given the scope of this, how much is still out there? I mean, what's thought to be the scope of the unsettled accounts, so to say? How much art's still out there that was looted?
A lot. Unfortunately, a lot. But to prove you have to show pictures, let's say, of your grandmother, that on the wall it was hanging, and to prove that she didn't sell it. Or in most of the cases, the easiest way to prove was when they were connected personally to these people. And it's still on, and we still have a committee. By the way, in Israel, in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, we have Shlomit Steinberg, who is still in these things, and she's traveling around the world when they gather these committees, and to try and check in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, we still have things that we do not know to whom they belong. But if someone will come and will prove, he will get it back.
It's incredible. It's a moving subject. It's a fascinating subject, and a bit of a positive horizon as we see stories like this week, at least. Miri Krimilovsky, thanks for being with us. Fascinating subject. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.